Okay, good morning, everybody. I hope all of you are doing well. Okay, just give me a minute, guys, as I set up my device and then we'll start with the class. Okay. Okay, awesome. Check it. Let me just see who all has joined us. So far, we have 128 people with us. Okay, that's good. And see, good morning, Vijay Lakshmi. Good morning, Sampada. Good morning, Namrata. Yes, Namrata, this is biology class. Good morning, Fiza. Good morning, Sanjana. Vaishnavi, yes, this is biology class. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. I'm getting good morning from a lot of people. Okay, so yes, this is your biology class. Okay, I will be taking a biology class of 12th class or second PU, as you guys call it. Okay, good morning, Pritish. Okay. Okay, so we are up to 137 now. I've been told that the strength of this class is roughly 200. So I'm assuming that the other 60 odd people will be joining us in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Good morning, Sonia. Good morning, Prakriti. Tanmay, just wait. I will be giving you all the details of what the class will consist of. Okay. Good morning, Manjula. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Getting good morning from a lot of you. Okay. It's difficult to respond to all of you, but good morning, everybody. If I did not respond to anybody's good morning, please forgive me. Okay. Okay. So let's just start with a brief introduction of mine, because I see that there are some students which I have taught, okay, before, and there are a lot of students which I have not taught before. Okay, so to those of you whom I have taught, you guys already know who I am. Okay, but most of you, since I have not taught you guys, okay, most of you are not aware, right, of who I am, right? What's my name? I think all of you can see my name, so that's not an issue. Where I'm from, what is my background, how long I've been with Avanti and all that stuff. So I thought I'll give you guys first a brief introduction of mine, and then we'll start with today's class. Okay? Okay, awesome. So what is my name? Okay, my name is Mohit Kumar Manhas. Okay, and I am from Punjab, where I am right now. Okay, I came home for vacation, then I got stuck here because of the lockdown, and I will be taking your classes all the way from Punjab, right? That is how apparently technology works now. So I'll be taking your classes from here. Okay. Okay. So I'll give you guys a brief background of who I am, what I've done, where did I do my education from, and then we'll move forward. Okay. So all of you are from Karnataka, right? I think that's a safe assumption. If you are not from Karnataka, all of you are studying in Karnataka, right? So unlike you guys, right, I did my education from all over the country, right? And the reason for that was my father was in army, so we had to travel around the country a lot, right? So what happened was I did my 10th from Kendriya Vidyalaya number 1, Firozpur Cant, right, which is a small town on the border of India and Pakistan, right? So that is where I did my 10th from. Okay, and after that my dad got transferred to Pune, and that is where I did my 12th from, right? So I did my 12th from Kendriya Vidyalaya Ganeshkund Pune, right, which is the third best CBSE school in all of India, right? So CBSE gives ratings to all its different schools. So as of now, there are only five-star schools of CBSE in the country, and Kendriya Vidyalaya Ganeshkund was the third school in the country to get a 5-star rating from the CBSE, right? Okay, so I did my 12th from there, right? I secured 93.8 percentage, right, in 12th, and after that I went to ISER, right? ISER stands for your Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Bhopal, right? So how many of you know about ISER? Yeah, just give me a yes. I'm pretty sure that the people that I've taught you guys know about ISER, because I've mentioned it again and again. But how many of you know about ISER? Just give me a yes or no. That would give me a fair idea. How many of you know about ISER and what is its function? Okay, please make sure that you are responsive in the class. Okay, yes or no. That really helps me in understanding, right? Whether you guys are getting what I'm saying or not. Pritish, I know you know ISER. Yeah, I've told you many times. Okay, awesome. So it seems like there's a sufficient number of you who do not know what ISER is exactly. So I'm assuming all of you know what IITs are, right? IITs are your Indian Institute of Technology, right? So IITs were set up by Government of India to produce some of the best engineers in this country, right? Similarly, ICERs were set up by Government of India in 2006 to produce some of the best scientists in this country, right? So, for example, all of us are under lockdown right now because of coronavirus, right? Doctors are out there treating us. At the same time, there are scientists who are trying to find a vaccine or a cure to the disease, right? So, scientists like those, they train at institutes like ICER, right? So that is the fundamental concept of ICER. So the concept of ICER was to produce great scientists from India, right? Otherwise, if you look at all the Nobel laureates that we have produced, they did at least part of their education from abroad, either US or Europe, right? For example, Hargobind Singh Khurana, right? He did receive a Nobel Prize, but he did his education from abroad, right? So the whole concept of ICER was to produce scientists that can study in India and then can bring laurels to the nation while studying in India, right? Okay. So there are a couple of photos of ICER that I wanted to show you to you guys. So the top photo that you guys see, right? That is our academic building. That is our academic block of the campus. So the area of the campus was 275 acres, right? If I remember correctly. So I think we have some Prerna students also here. Can you guys tell me what is the area of your Prerna campus here? Do you guys know what is the area of your Prerna campus? Are there any Prerna students here? Can you guys tell me what is the area of your Prerna campus? Vijay Lakshmi says no idea. Vishal says 32 acres. Abhishek says 80 acres. Okay. Chetna says 36 acres. Okay, so it seems like it's roughly around 30 acres, right? So you guys might have seen, you know, how big 30 acres is. So ICER was roughly 9 times of that, right? More than 9 times of what your size of the Prerna campus is, right? And the bottom figure that you see, that's your that's our residential area where we used to live, right? So the buildings that you see in the bottom figure, that's our hostels. And the ground in the middle that you see, that is our practice cricket pitch. Then there's the main cricket pitch on the other side of the road. Okay. Okay. So what else did I do in ICER yet? So in my 5th year, so I have a bachelor's and a master's dual degree, right? So the concept of ICER is based on the US, right? So in US, there is BS and MS, right? In India, you get a BSc degree and an MSc degree. In ICER, you get a BS and MS dual degree, right? So in your 5th year, you're supposed to work on a project. So in my project, I worked on tuberculosis, right? In my project, I worked on tuberculosis, and the photo of the girl that you see in the presentation, she was my mentor, right? She was my mentor and she helped me through the project, right? So what was my project all about? I'll just give you guys a brief introduction, right? So tuberculosis, right? If you, I don't know how many of you know about tuberculosis or how much you know about tuberculosis. So in tuberculosis, there is a treatment plan, right? Which lasts for 3 months. But at the beginning of the first month itself, patients start improving rapidly, right? So what they do is that they stop taking their medicines, right? And what happens as a result of that, once they stop taking the medicine, then the infection comes back. And the reason why the infection comes back is because the bacteria of tuberculosis, that is your Mycobacterium tuberculosis, it forms a layer on your lung cells, right? Which is known as biofilm, right? And that biofilm, okay, allows it to hide from the immune system of the body, right? So the top 2 layers that you see, the top 2 rows that you see in the photo, that is what the layer looks like on your lung cells, right? So what my work was based on, disrupting this layer so that the treatment can become more efficient. So if you look at the bottom 2 layers, bottom 2 rows, the layer is disrupted, right? So that is what my work was based on. Okay. So apart from academics, what did I do in ICER? So I was part of the college basketball team, right? And I represented our college in 3 consecutive years in the inter ICER sports tournament, right? So it is conducted throughout India at different ICERs. So I represented my college there. Apart from playing basketball, I used to do a lot of gaming on PC, right? I used to play FIFA, I used to play NBA, I used to play CS. What else? I used to play a lot of games here. I forgot the name. Ever since I've started working, I don't have the time now to play anymore. Apart from that, I was also part of the movie club. I was the coordinator of the movie club where my job was to, so just like in movie theaters, every Friday there is a new release. Our job as a movie club members was to ensure to screen a new movie every Friday or Saturday for the students, right? So I was the head of that, right? My job was to decide what movies to screen, to collect money from everybody, right? All that stuff. Okay. So those were some of my hobbies that I indulged in. And then in 2017, I passed from the college. I graduated from the college. That's me getting my degree. Okay. And ever since I graduated from the college, I've been working with Avanti. In few months, I'll be completing 3 years in Avanti, right? Take care. Thank you very much, Prakriti, for your kind words. So that was a brief introduction of mine. I hope that helped you guys get a better sense of who I am. Obviously, since it's an online class, it will be difficult for me to get your introduction, but hopefully as you guys will take more and more participation in the class, I will get to know you guys better. Okay. Okay. So that was a brief introduction of mine. Thank you very much for all your kind words. Okay. So now what I'll do is we'll start with the class. Okay. We'll start with the class. Okay. Okay. So we'll start with your 12th class or second PUC, as you guys like to call it, or as it is called in Karnataka and some parts of Maharashtra. Right, we'll be starting with your first chapter of 12th standard, which is reproduction in organisms, the first lecture. Okay. Okay. So I hope that whatever we have studied in 11th standard, it is clear to you guys, it is on your fingertips, because we will be requiring some of that knowledge, not all, but some of that knowledge in this particular chapter. Okay. And just make sure that you keep on revising the 11th standard. Okay. So I'll give you guys a brief structure of how I'll be running this class. So in this class, I will be covering each and every line of the textbook, right? So I'm assuming there will be some people who are only geared towards boards, who have no interest in NEET, right? While there must be some of you who are only interested in NEET. So can I get a yes of all those people for whom NEET is the first priority? Can I get a yes from all those people for whom NEET is the first priority? It's okay if it's not, because that will give me a fair idea whether you know, what is your first priority, whether it's NEET or whether it's boards, you know, so that I can mold my content accordingly. So I've received responses from 126 people. Just press yes or no in the participant list. That would be more than enough for me. 129 people have responded. Okay. Okay. So out of 200 people, it seems like for 135 people, NEET is the first priority. And for the other 65 people, I'm assuming boards is the first priority. Need not worry, for those of you for whom boards is the first priority, I will be going over each and every line of the NCERT textbook. I will be explaining everything that's given in the NCERT textbook. So there's no need to worry. As of those people who are interested in NEET, obviously we will be covering some concepts from outside the textbook also, right? Take care. Srinivas, it's okay if your first priority is boards. Guru Raj, it's okay if your first priority is CET. We will be covering everything, right? So in this class, I'll be covering your boards, I will be covering your CET, I will be covering your NEET, everything, right? Because there is this misconception that if you're preparing for NEET, for some reason, the textbook is not important, but a textbook is always important. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you're preparing for boards, CET, or NEET, textbook is your first priority. Okay, so I will be covering each and every line of the textbook, right? So it doesn't matter what your aim is, we will be covering all of that. Okay, so I hope all of you have your second PUC textbook with you guys. If you do not have, download it from the NCERT website. Okay, go to ncert.nic.in and you guys can download the textbook from there. Okay, develop a habit of reading textbook daily, because that will really help you in remembering stuff that you're reading in the class. Okay, okay, so those of you who might not have seen your textbook, this is what your textbook looks like. Okay, this is your Bible for the next 1 year or for however long you want to try for NEET. So we'll start every class by, you know, bowing our head, textbook ko pranam karke we'll start all our classes, because this textbook is the most important textbook for all of you guys when it comes to biology. Pooja, yes, if you have the old version, that is completely fine. Okay, but I would recommend having the latest version. You can download it again from ncert.nic.in, because every year they keep on making small changes. Okay, okay, awesome. So that is what your textbook looks like for those of you who might not have downloaded it. Okay, and we'll start with your 6th unit, right? So in your 11th standard, you guys are done with your 5 units of biology. Now we'll be starting with the 6th unit, and your 6th unit is reproduction, right? In this 6th unit, we'll be covering 4 chapters, that is reproduction in organisms, sexual reproduction in flowering plants, human reproduction, and reproductive health, right? Some interesting chapters that you guys, I'm sure, must be looking forward to. But trust me, they're not as interesting as they were in 8th and 10th standard. Okay, there is a lot more about cells than about the humans itself. Okay, so we'll be starting with the 6th unit, reproduction, and today we'll start with the first chapter, which is reproduction in organism. So what all is there in reproduction in organisms? There is brief introduction to reproduction, different types of reproduction. You guys might be aware there are 2 types of reproduction, your asexual and sexual. Then we'll be studying subcategories of both those reproduction, right? That is subcategories of asexual reproduction and subcategories of sexual reproduction. Okay, so on that note, I hope all of you are now ready to start with this session. Shall we now begin? Is it okay with everybody if I now start with the class? Okay, so it seems like everybody is ready. So now let's start with the class. Okay, now first and foremost thing, if you open up your textbook, so this is something I have told to my 11th class students that I've taught, that if NEET is your primary goal, for that matter, even if boards is your primary goal, each and every line of the textbook is very important. Each and every line of the textbook is very important. That includes the information of the scientist that is given to you at the start of every unit. Okay, so this information is also very important because in previous year, questions have been asked about that. Okay. A couple of instructions. If at any point you have any doubts, you want me to explain any point again, you're not sure about meaning of anything, just let me know in the chat box and I will go over it. Okay, I tend to use, at least that's what students have told me, I tend to use a few words of English that are slightly difficult to understand. Okay, so if you fail to understand the meaning of any word, doesn't matter whether it's biological or a English word, just let me know in the chat and I will go over it. Okay, so if you have any doubt, just let me know. Preksha, no, this cuts. Okay, so again, yes, one more thing I want to tell you. So whatever we are covering right now, okay, this is part of your college year. Okay, this is part of your college. Okay, so I'll think of this as your official NEET classes. Okay, because we don't know when your colleges will open. It might be August, it might be September. We are hoping it's soon, but we don't know, right? So we won't be left with a lot of time to cover up all the chapters from the beginning. So consider this as your official class. Okay, keep your notebook and your pen handy, a pencil also for that matter, if you love to draw. Anyway, I will be sharing this PPT at the end of the class, so there's no need to worry about that. Okay, so this chapters will not be repeated in your NEET classes. I'm not sure of what will happen in your boards classes, but at least in your NEET classes, these chapters won't be repeated. So make sure that you guys attend each and every class. Okay, again, if you have any doubts, it could be anything. किसी word का मतलब समझना है, just let me know in the chat box and I will help you with that. Okay, but if I think that your doubt is likely that is out of the topic, I will ask you guys to wait after the class so that we can discuss it after the class. Okay, so let's first go over couple of things about Pancham Maheshwari. Okay, so there are basically two things that you have to remember about this guy, okay, from which a question might be asked. Okay, the first and foremost thing about him that you guys have to know is that he is responsible for establishing the Department of Botany of University of Delhi, right? So University of Delhi. Prakriti, I will be zooming in. This is just a photo. Do not worry. The font size of the other things is bigger. Okay, this is just a photo. So unfortunately, I cannot zoom in this one, right? It's given in your textbook. You can look at it. So there are a couple of things that you have to remember, okay, about this. The first one is that he is responsible for setting up of Department of Botany of University of Delhi, right? What is botany? Botany is the study of plants, right? And University of Delhi is one of the oldest and the most premier institutes in this country. And he was responsible for establishing the Department of Botany in University of Delhi. Another thing, and a very important thing that you guys should know about this particular person, is that he was responsible for the first textbooks of biology of NCERT that you guys are studying right now, right? So the textbooks that you guys are studying right now, they were started in the year 1964. And he was the one who was responsible for bringing those textbooks for 11th and 12th class students. So these are the two things that you have to remember. Okay, there are other details also, right? Where he was born, where did he do his education from? But again, all those questions are usually not asked. When they do ask questions about these particular scientists, they ask about their contributions, right? What all and how all they have contributed to the field of science, okay, or biology for that matter. Okay, so there are two things that you have to remember about Pancham Maheshwari. That is, he is responsible for establishing the University Department of Biology in University of Delhi, and he is responsible for bringing about the textbooks that all of you guys have the privilege of reading right now. So if you do not like biology, this is the person to blame. If you love biology, this is the person that you should thank for. Okay. Now let's start with the chapter. So the chapter is reproduction in organisms. And the first question right off the bat that your textbook asks you guys is, what is life? Can anybody tell me what is life? What do you guys think is life? Because this question can be looked at as a scientific question, right? You can answer it scientifically, what is life? And then you can answer it philosophically also, right? What is life? What is the purpose of life? मैं दुनिया में करने क्या आया हूँ, right? So Samriddhi has given an answer. Samriddhi says that it is the period between birth and death. Preksha says that it consists of growth, reproduction, and development. Tausif says that it is biological phenomena of continuing the race. And Pooja says that that is lifespan. Samriddhi says that the purpose is to reproduce. Okay. Then Baswaraj says that birth to natural death. Dev Reddy says that life is just cycle. What kind of cycle, beta? Then Varun says that life is the period between birth to natural death. Okay. So I will tell you guys. Okay. Abhishek says that life is question paper. Okay. So that means it's difficult. I'm assuming that is the joke that you're trying to make. Okay. So let's see. So what is life? Let me tell you guys what is life. Okay. Life is a movie. Life is a movie. Okay. Actually, this is a real movie, which I think was released in the year 2017, right? So this movie, what happened? I don't know how many of you have seen this movie. So in this movie, what happens is a group of scientists find a life source on Mars. Okay, they find an organism on Mars, and then that organism starts killing everybody on the spaceship. Okay. So what is life? Life is a movie. No, that is not life. Okay. So as I said, this is a scientific question and this is a philosophical question, right? You can say that life, as Advait has said, is a characteristic that distinguishes physical entities that are biological processes, right? So if somebody asked me to define life, I would say that, life is a collection of events. Okay, life is a collection of events that start from your birth and end at your death, right? But some people will say that that's a philosophical definition, right? Then they will ask for a biological definition, right? So you can say that biologically, life is a set of chemical reactions, live chemical reactions that start with your birth and end at your death, right? Okay. Ankita says that life is full of surprises and miracles. Life is full of surprises and miracles. Okay. Prakriti, what is afterlife? Stay back after the class. I'll tell you what is afterlife. Okay. Rahul has also given an answer. Life is a characteristic that distinguishes physical entities that are biological processes such as signaling and self-sustaining processes from those that do not, either because such functions. Okay, that's a very long one. I don't know where you got it from. I admire your patience to type all that out. Thank you very much. Okay, so if you want a biological answer, you can say that life is a set of live chemical reactions that start at your birth and end at your death. If you want a philosophical one, then you can say that life is a collection of events, right, which start at your birth and end at your death. But so the certainty in life is that everybody is going to die. That thing is certain to everybody, right? That is certain to everybody, that anybody who's alive is going to die, right? So, but we see a lot of people around us. Now the question is, how is that possible, right? If everybody is going to die, why do we still see a lot of people around us, or a lot of organism around us, right? And the simple reason for that is reproduction. Reason for that is reproduction, right? So first let's talk about lifespan. Okay, so what is lifespan? This is the definition right from your textbook. Okay, the period from birth to the natural death of an organism represent its lifespan, right? So the time from your birth to your death is known as your lifespan, and every organism can live only for a certain period of time. Rahul, there is no need to copy this down. As I said, I will be sharing these notes in the group. Okay, I hope all of you are part of that group. So I will be sharing all these notes in the group. But you can keep taking small notes or anecdotes if you like to. Okay? Just make sure that you pay attention. That is the most important thing, right? So what is lifespan? Lifespan is the period from birth to the natural death of an organism, and that period is known as your lifespan. Okay? And each and every individual can only live for a certain amount of time. Each and every individual can only live for a certain amount of time. Okay? Okay? Let's move forward. So if you look at your textbooks, those of you have your textbooks, this figure will be given to you where lifespan of certain organisms is given, right? For example, here lifespan of the crocodile is given, which is 60 years. Lifespan of the tortoise is given, which is 100 to 150 years, right? And they have asked you to fill out the rest of the blanks. Okay, so let's see. Okay, let's, without looking up on the internet, take a blind guess. Let's start with an elephant. Can you guys guess what is the age of an elephant? Can you guys get what is the average age of an elephant? What is the average age of an elephant? What is the average age of an elephant? So people are saying anywhere around 60 to 90. 60 to 90 people are saying. So, okay, so the average age of an elephant is usually, 60 to 75 years. The average age of an elephant is usually 60 to 75 years. Obviously, some elephants can die prematurely because of some disease, right? While some can live longer if they are properly taken care of, right? Can you guys guess what is the lifespan of a rose plant? I don't know how many of you have a rose plant in your backyard, but can you guys guess? Okay, what is the average lifespan? Okay, so some people are saying in days. Okay, beta ye kaun sa rose ka plant dekha hai tum logon ne jo dinnon mein mar jata hai? Some people are saying weeks. Okay, that's also very weird. So usually the lifespan of a rose is usually 10 years. Again, it could be plus minus 2 to 3 years, but the average age of any rose plant is 10 years. So if you plant a rose plant in your backyard, if you take proper care of it, you can expect it to bloom for anywhere between 8 to 10 years. Okay, okay, dogs. I don't know how many of you have dogs, how many of you love dogs. I love dogs. Okay, so can you guys tell me what is the average age of dogs? What is the average age of dogs? What is the average age of dogs? Okay, so dogs usually live for 20 to 25 years. Again, there is lot of variation depending on what kind of breeds you guys are talking about, right? For example, there's a breed of dog which is known as Great Dane, which I personally love, and Great Danes only survive for 10 to 11 years, right? But there are certain breeds of dogs, especially Indian breeds of dogs, that can survive up to 25 years, right? Okay. So then can anybody tell me what is the average age of a banana tree? Can anybody tell me what is the average age of a banana tree? Can anybody tell me what is the average age of a banana tree? Tausif says 4 months, okay? 250 years. Baapre, itna zyada. Chetna says 10 years. So again, the average age of a banana tree is from 20 to 25 years. Average age of a banana tree is 20 to 25 years. Okay. What about cow? What about cow? Okay, so right now I'm at my grandparents' place and they have 2 cows, right? And one of them is like now almost 18 years old, if I'm not wrong. And they also have a bull, which is like 20 plus years old. So the average age of cow is roughly around 25 years. The average age of cow is roughly around 25 years. Make sure that you write this down in your textbook because you guys are supposed to fill this, but I don't know how many of you will fill this on your own. So make sure that you guys are writing this down somewhere. Okay. Take care. So after that, they have mentioned crocodile. Crocodile is 60 years. And can you guys guess what is the age of a horse? Ek ghode ki umar kya aati hai? So when I was in 8th and 9th standard, my dad enrolled me for horse riding classes. I did horse riding for like 1.5 years. So can you guys tell me what is the age of a horse? What is the rough age of a horse? So the rough age of a horse is roughly around 50 years. The rough age of a horse is roughly around 50 years. The rough age of a horse is, so a horse usually lives for 50 years. Okay. Fruit fly. First of all, how many of you know what is fruit fly? Or do you guys know what is the scientific name of fruit fly? Do you guys know what is the scientific name of a fruit fly? Okay, so Ruchi has given an answer, and Parashu has given an answer, Sampada has given an answer. So your fruit fly is Drosophila melanogaster, right? So if you keep your fruits outside in summer, right, especially in summer, you will see those small black flies hovering over the fruits, and they are known as your fruit flies, right? And fruit flies have a usual lifespan of 1 month. They have a usual lifespan of 1 month. They have a usual lifespan of 1 month. Okay, anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks. That is the lifespan of a fruit fly. Okay, rice plant. What do you guys think is the normal age or an approximate lifespan of a rice plant? So the average lifespan of a rice plant is 4 months. The average age of a rice plant is 4 months. The average age of a rice plant is 4 months, right? Is it a kharif crop or a rabi crop? I hope you remember this. Is it a kharif crop or a rabi crop? You guys remember this from your 8th or 9th standard when you guys learned farming? Is it a kharif crop or a rabi crop? Okay, so some people are saying kharif, some people are saying rabi. Kya beta, yaad nahi hai kya? Okay, take it. Just go back to your 8th standard textbook and go through it. Anyway, we will be covering this in your food practices chapter later on, but you guys should remember this. Okay, last one. Banyan tree. What do you guys think is the age of a banyan tree? What do you guys think is the age of a banyan tree? So the age of a banyan tree is anywhere between 200 to 300 years. The age of a banyan tree is anywhere between 200 to 300 years. The average age of a banyan tree is anywhere between 200 to 300 years, right? Okay, now, so that was just a few ages of the organisms that are given in your textbook. Now, can you guys, so actually there are certain plants which live for thousands of years. For example, there is a plant which is known as sequoia tree, okay, and that is found in US if I'm not wrong, and the lifespan of that plant is 3,000 to 4,000 years, right? So that plant has been around for more than 3,000 years. People tree has also roughly the same lifespan as a banyan tree, slightly less also, so it hovers around 100 to 200 years. Okay, couple of more interesting tidbits that I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, so the longest living mammal is bowhead whale. The longest living mammal is your bowhead whale, and the lifespan of a bowhead whale is usually 200 plus years. The lifespan of a bowhead whale is usually 200 plus years, and it is found in your Arctic and your Antarctic region. Okay, so they are found in very cold regions, and the average age of a bowhead whale is 200 plus years. Okay, and they are known as the longest living mammals. Okay, and the longest living terrestrial animal is obviously the tortoise, which could be anywhere between 100 to 300 years depending on what kind of tortoise you are talking about. Okay, so Pritish is asking what is the scientific name of bowhead whale. I'm not sure here. I don't remember now. I'll let you know after the class probably what is the scientific name of bowhead whale. This is just an interesting tidbit that I wanted to share. Okay, it's not given in your textbook. I just wanted to let you guys know. And the longest living person that we have had is your John Calment. Okay, and she was 122 years old when she died. Okay, she was from France, and she was 122 years when she was died, right? She was so old that there were theories of how she has survived so far, right? She outlived both her daughters also and grandchildren also, right? Uske bacche bhi mar gaye, uske pote potiyan bhi mar gayi, and she was still alive, right? So there were theories, right, how she has survived for so long. So there were a few people who suggested that when she was very old, her position was taken up by her daughter, right? That they switched bodies. When she was about to die, her daughter took her position, and that is how she survived for so long. But when she died, they did her DNA analysis, and they saw that it was indeed John Calment. So John Calment is the oldest living person at 122 years, right? When she died, she was 122 years. Again, something that I wanted to share. Okay, now let's get back to our content. Okay, so the lifespan of an organism usually includes 4 stages. The lifespan of an organism usually includes 4 stages. Veerabhadra Gowda, I will be telling you the scientific name after the class, okay, of bowhead whale, because even I don't remember right now. Okay, now the lifespan of an organism usually includes 4 stages. The 4 stages are your juvenile stage, maturity stage, aging stage, and death. Now let's go over each one of them, right? What is your juvenile stage? So juvenile stage is the stage, okay, where juvenile stage is the stage where the organism undergoes reproduction development, where the organism is not capable of reproducing, but its reproductive organs are developing. So that is known as your juvenile phase, right? So that is known as your juvenile phase. Okay, after your juvenile phase, you have your maturity phase, and your maturity phase is the phase when you're at the peak of your powers, when your body is the most active, right? When your body has the most energy, and you are capable of sexual reproduction, right? So in juvenile phase, there is development of your sexual organs so that you can take part in reproduction once you reach the maturity age. Once you reach the maturity age, so maturity age is the age when the process of reproduction starts in an organism, when an organism is capable of reproducing. After your maturity age comes your aging age. So in your aging phase of the life, your body processes start slowing down. You're not as active as you were, right? You are not as energetic as you were. So that is because the metabolism of the body slows down, right? And your body takes longer to heal. You take more time to recover from a disease, right? So in aging phase, what happens is your body slows down. The metabolic activity of the body slows down, and the body slowly starts decaying, right? So for example, most of your parents are in the aging phase right now, right? They're not as active as they were when they were young, right? While I am probably in the maturity phase right now. At least I hope I am. I don't want to be in the aging phase so far. Okay. Yes, Veerabhadra, that is one thing that does happen. Okay. Then after that comes your death, which is the inevitable end of any lifespan or life cycle, right? That is every living organism that is present on this planet that dies. Okay, so what are the 4 phases of lifespan? The 4 phases of lifespan are your juvenile phase, your maturity phase, your aging phase, and your death. These are your 4 phases of any lifespan. Okay, 4 phases of any lifespan. Okay, after that, so I have an interesting question for you. Okay, the question that I have is, okay, are there any exceptions to this rule? What is the rule that I'm talking about? Whatever be the lifespan, death of every individual organism is a certainty. That is, no individual is immortal, right? Koi bhi amar nahi hai. So the question that I have for you guys is there any exception to this rule? That are there organisms that are immortal? Are there organisms that are immortal? So if there are, can you guys tell me? Are there any organisms? So I am receiving some responses. Okay. So okay, so one of you says Thanos. Unfortunately, Thanos is also not immortal yet. Okay, Thanos also dies at the end. Okay. Rahul says Corona, but Corona is a virus. So the first question that you should ask is virus exactly living, right? So you can't even say that. So the question that I have for you is, okay, are there any exceptions to this rule? Are there any exceptions to this rule? And you can say that there are exceptions to this rule, and the exceptions that you guys have, are your unicellular organisms. The exceptions that you guys have are your unicellular organisms. The question is, why are unicellular organisms an exception? Because if you look at unicellular organisms, right, they reproduce by cell division, that is your mitosis, and that could be of any form. You could see binary fission, you could see fragmentation, right? And in that process, they are producing exact copies of themselves. They're producing exact copies of themselves. So you can say that they're not ever dying, because what they're doing is they're continuously propagating themselves by asexually reproducing. So they're producing multiple clones of themselves, right? So an exception to this rule, that is everything dies or nobody is immortal, is unicellular organism. Okay, and the reason for that is because unicellular organisms divide by cell division and they produce exact copies of themselves. They produce exact copies of themselves. As a result of that, they are immortal. Okay, so Advait says that Turriopsis nutricula is immortal. Okay, I'll have to check up on that here. Okay, I'll see whether that really is immortal or not. If it is, I'll let you know. Pooja says that phoenix lives again by its ash. But is phoenix a living organism or is it a fantastical organism? Okay, okay. Anyway, let's move. Let's not get diverted. Let's move to the next part. So the only exception to the rule that your every organism is immortal are your unicellular organisms. Okay. Okay. Now the question is, what is reproduction? The question is, what is reproduction? Okay. So reproduction is a biological process in which an organism gives rise to young one, which is known as offspring, similar to itself. So what is reproduction? Reproduction is the process in which an organism gives rise to a young one, which is also known as offspring, which is similar to itself. Okay, the key point there is similar. Okay, it can be exact copy also, it can be similar also. If they are reproducing by asexual mode of reproduction, then there will be exact copies or clones, and if they are reproducing by sexual mode of reproduction, then they will be similar. Ankita, yes, these lines are from the NCERT. Most of the lines that you will be seeing will be from the NCERTs. Obviously, there will be certain topics which will be not from the NCERT, right? Okay. Okay. Then what happens is the young ones grow and mature to repeat the same process, right? When the offspring grows, right, that is once it is out of the juvenile phase into the maturity phase, right, then it repeats the process to keep the species or to keep the population going. Because if organisms stop reproducing, then what would happen? Then life on earth would cease to exist. Life on earth would stop existing. Okay? So what is the primary function of reproduction? The primary function of reproduction is it enables the continuity of the species generation after generation, right? So humans came onto this planet, right, tens of thousands of years ago, right? And why is it that we're still alive, right? Why is it that our species is still continuing? The reason our species is continuing is because of the process of reproduction, So what is reproduction? Reproduction is the process by which an organism gives rise to young ones similar to itself. Okay, the young ones grow and repeat the process to maintain the continuity of the species generation after generation, right? So that is what reproduction is, and that is what the purpose of reproduction is. Again, if at any point you want me to repeat a point again, if you have any doubts, just let me know in the chat and I will go through your question. Okay, okay, let's move to the next one. Okay, so what are the factors that can influence reproduction of an organism, right? So the organism's habitat, right? That is the kind of habitat. What is habitat? The environment that it lives in, right? So the mode of reproduction in terrestrial organisms is different than mode of reproduction in aquatic animals, right? So because aquatic animals can make use of water to take part in reproduction, while organisms that are terrestrial, their mode of reproduction is slightly different. So what are the factors that influence the mode of reproduction? It could be the organism's habitat, that is the environment they live in. Then its internal physiology, right? Whether it is a mammal, whether it is a bird, whether it is a reptile. If it's a mammal, then it can be viviparous in nature because it can nourish its young one. If it belongs to other phylum of the animal kingdom, right, then it could be oviparous also, right? So depending on its habitat, its internal physiology, and several other factors are responsible for how an organism's reproduce. So Chandrakala asks, sir, the offsprings can be similar or dissimilar. Beta, the offsprings are always similar, right? So if you remember your 10th standard and 9th standard, you studied about congruency of triangles and similarity of triangles, right? So if organisms reproduce by asexual mode of reproduction, then your offsprings are congruent to the parent, right? That is, they are the exact copy, right? What is congruency? In congruency, your shapes can overlap completely. But if they reproduce by sexual reproduction, then they are usually similar, right? That is, they will have the same structure, right? But they will have minor differences, okay? So in reproduction, the organisms are always similar. The degree of similarity depends on a lot of factors. Okay, I hope I answered your question. Now, based on whether there is participation of one organism or two, there are two types of reproduction. The two types of reproduction are asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, right? Most of you must be aware what is asexual reproduction, what is sexual reproduction. We will just do a brief overview of what exactly is asexual reproduction. Okay, there would be nothing new there, maybe with couple of terms. Okay, so what is asexual reproduction? When offspring is produced by a single parent with or without involvement of gamete formation, the process is asexual. With or without gamete formation, the process is asexual. So all of us know of asexual reproduction that takes place without gamete formation. Can you guys tell me if there is a mode of reproduction where gamete formation takes place? First of all, I ask you guys a question. Is there a mode of asexual reproduction in which gamete formation takes place? In which gamete formation takes place? So Veerabhadra says that in algae, you see gamete formation. Okay, is there an example of an organism that undergoes asexual reproduction but sees gamete formation? So Pritish also says algae. Okay, take care. So go back home and tell me with examples of organisms that show asexual reproduction but with gamete formation. Okay, we all know about asexual reproduction that takes place without gamete formation, right? There is your budding, there is your binary fission, there is your multiple fission, and all those, right? Or vegetative propagation, you do not have gamete formation, but that is asexual reproduction, right? I want you guys to go back home and tell me if there is an example of asexual reproduction in which gamete formation take place. Sabko homework samjha kya hai? There is only one homework, that is you have to go back home and tell me examples of organisms in which you see gamete formation but asexual reproduction take place. Okay? Now, what is sexual reproduction? When two parents of opposite sex participate in the reproductive process and involves fusion of male and female gametes, it is sexual reproduction. So, what are the key criteria of sexual reproduction? There should be two parents of opposite sex and gamete fusion takes place. That is known as your sexual reproduction. So I hope the definition of the sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction is clear to everybody, right? Nothing new, something that you guys have studied in your 10th class also. Now we will study about asexual reproduction in bit more detail. Okay, so let's first talk about the properties of asexual reproduction. So what are the properties of asexual reproduction? First is a single parent is involved, which is also known as uniparental condition. Uni means one, so a single parent is involved, so you can also say that it is uniparental in nature. Okay, next is gametes are not formed. Okay, mostly because depending on what your answer to the homework is, this point could change. Okay, so you have to go back and tell me whether gamete formation take place in some form of asexual reproduction or not. But usually we do not see gamete formation. Pratibha, are you sure about your assumption there? Okay, let's move to the next one. There is no fertilization. There is no fertilization because even if in some cases gamete formation is taking place, there is no fusion of gametes, so there is no fertilization. Hence, asexual reproduction is also called agamogenesis or agamogeny. Since there is no fertilization, okay, since there is no fertilization, the sexual reproduction is also called agamogenesis. Asexual reproduction is also called agamogenesis or agamogeny. Okay, now the daughter, there is only mitotic cell division, right? I hope all of you remember mitotic cell division, meiotic cell division from class 11. Mitotic cell division is your equational division, where if you start off with a cell with 20 chromosomes, daughter cells will also have 20 chromosomes, right? And there is no crossing over. But in meiotic division is known as reductional division, because in that, if you start off with a cell of 20 chromosomes, you will end up with 4 cells of 10 chromosomes each. Okay, and meiotic division takes place during gamete formation. Okay, okay. Now the daughter organisms or daughter cells are genetically identical, which are also known as clones to the parents. Okay, so since there is no crossing over, since there is no involvement of another parent, the daughter cells, the offsprings or the daughter organisms are identical to the parents, and they're also known as clones. Okay, they're also known as what? Clones. Okay, now multiplication occurs rapidly, right? Asexual mode of reproduction is faster than sexual mode of reproduction, right? You must have seen all the organisms from humans to, you know, dog to a cat. All those organisms take months to give rise to a young one, while in asexual reproduction you can quickly give rise to lot of organisms. That is one of the advantages that we studied of that we studied of vegetative propagation in plants, right? In 10th standard, that vegetative propagation allows for faster growth of plants. You can grow plants faster by the means of vegetative propagation because it is an asexual mode of reproduction. Okay, now where does asexual reproduction occurs? So it occurs in unicellular organisms like Monera and Protista. So I hope you remember your kingdoms in Monera, Kingdom and Protista, and many plants. Okay, many plants also show, and simple animals Can you guys tell me a plant in which asexual mode of reproduction is seen? Can you guys tell me a plant in which asexual mode of reproduction is seen? Can you guys tell me a plant in which asexual mode of reproduction is seen? Okay, so rose plant. Okay, so potato, then some are saying algae. So the most famous one that you guys have studied in your 10th standard also, right? What was the one example that you guys studied in your 10th standard in which asexual reproduction takes place automatically in a plant? I'm still waiting for that example. None of you have mentioned it. Fine, you guys are mentioning rose, right? So if you remember, right, in bryophyllum, right, in bryophyllum, what happens is that leaves fall off, right? The leaves on top of the leaves, they fall off onto the soil and they give rise to a new plant, right? So again, there are many examples like that. In some people, in some plants, we can artificially propagate them also, which is known as vegetative propagation, which is also a mode of asexual reproduction. And do not worry, we will be studying about all this later on, okay, as we move along the chapter. Okay, okay. So that was some of the brief traits of asexual reproduction. Now, what are the different types of asexual reproduction? The different types of asexual reproductions are fission, budding, fragmentation, regeneration, and sporulation. Okay, there are some other minor modes of asexual reproduction also, but these are the 5 major modes of asexual reproduction, and these are the 5 major modes of asexual reproduction that we will be studying along with vegetative propagation, which I will cover in a separate topic. Okay, so we will be studying these 5 modes of asexual reproduction, that is your fission, budding, fragmentation, regeneration, and sporulation. I will cover vegetative propagation, but in a separate topic. Okay, so today we will be talking about fission properly. Okay, so what exactly is fission? Fission is the opposite of fusion, right? Fusion comes from the word fuse, that is coming together. So fission is opposite of it. Fission is what? Breaking down, right? Again, if you remember your chapter sources of energy from 10th standard, we talked about nuclear fusion and nuclear fission, right? So in nuclear fusion, lighter nuclei come together, right, to produce energy. In fission, the heavy nuclei breaks down into two smaller nuclei and release a lot of energy, right? So that is what fission is in biological terms also. Then a cell divides into smaller cells, right? So what is fission? Fission is division of the parent body into two or more daughter individuals identical to the parent. Okay, what is fission? Fission is the division of the parent body into two or more daughter cells identical to the parents. There are three different types of fission that we will be studying. The three different types of fission that we'll be studying will be your binary fission, multiple fission, and plasmotomy. So the first two are given in your textbook. You have read them in 10th standard also. The third one is slightly new, that is your plasmotomy. We'll see that at the end of the lecture. Okay, so there are three types of fission that usually occur: binary fission, multiple fission, and plasmotomy. So first, let's start with your binary fission. What is binary fission? Fission means dividing. Binary means two, right? Binary means two. So when a parent organism divides into two halves, each half forms an independent daughter organism, right? So in binary fission, what happens is your cell divides into two identical daughter cells. That is your binary fission. Okay, now there are subtypes of binary fission also. What are the three subtypes of binary fission? The three subtypes of binary fission are simple binary fission, which is also known as irregular binary fission. Then you have longitudinal binary fission, and then you have transverse binary fission. Okay, so there are three types of binary fission: simple binary fission or irregular binary fission, longitudinal binary fission, and then you have your transverse binary fission. And these are the types of three binary fissions that we will be studying today. So let's start with your simple binary fission or your irregular binary fission. So what is simple binary fission? So simple binary fission can occur through any plane. What do I mean by can occur through any plane? That means the cell can divide like this, the cell can divide like this, the cell can divide like this, the cell can divide like this. It can divide in n number of ways. There is no fixed plane of division. Okay, it could divide in any particular direction. So that is why it is also known as irregular binary fission. So what is simple binary fission? Simple binary fission is binary fission that can occur through any plane. The most famous example that you guys have been studying since 8th standard is your amoeba. Okay, I hope the simple binary fission is clear to everybody. Okay, so that was your simple binary fission. Now let's talk about your longitudinal binary fission. So in longitudinal binary fission, plane of division passes along the longitudinal axis of the organism. Longitudinal axis of the organism means what? Along the length of the organism. So division is like this. Okay, so if the organism is in this way, then it will divide like this. Okay, so if the organism is in this way, then it will divide like this. If the organism is like this, then it will divide like this. Okay, so that is known as your along the longitudinal axis of the organism, that is along the length of the organism, and this plane of division is fixed. Unlike your irregular binary fission, which could happen across any plane, longitudinal binary fission happens along the length of the organism or the longitudinal axis of the organism, to be more precise. Okay, now It occurs in flagellates such as Euglena, right? So it is most famous for organisms that are flagellates, right? Organisms that are flagellates. I hope you remember what are flagellate organisms. Organisms that have a flagella with them, right? Okay. What is flagella made up of here? What is flagella made up of? What is eukaryotic 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 flagella made up of? Okay, what is the protein that eukaryotic flagella is made up of? What is eukaryotic flagella made up of? Okay, so I think one of you asked a question, what kind of reproduction is seen in paramecium? Beta, in paramecium, we usually see binary fission. Okay, okay, so I'm getting a lot of answers. Dekho beta. In eukaryotes, the protein that makes up your flagella is tubulin, right? In prokaryotes, it is flagellin. Please do not get confused, okay? In eukaryotes, it is tubulin which makes up your flagella, while in your prokaryotes, it is a protein flagellin. Okay, yaad rakhna. Obviously, there are other components also. There is dynein protein, right? There is nexin protein, but the main protein which makes up your flagella is your tubulin protein in your eukaryotes. Okay, so that was your longitudinal fission. Another thing that you have to remember is the flagellum divides first, followed by the body. So first the flagella divides and then the organism divides. Okay, so there are two things that you remember in longitudinal binary fission. In longitudinal binary fission, it happens along the length of the organism. It usually takes place in flagellates, and the flagella divides before the organisms. These are the three key points that you have to remember from your longitudinal binary fission. After your longitudinal binary fission, you have your transversal binary fission. After that, you have your transversal binary fission. Okay? So in transversal binary fission, so the plane of division runs along the transverse axis of the individual. So as I said, in paramecium, we also see binary fission, but the binary fission that we see in paramecium is your transverse binary fission. Okay, that is, it takes perpendicular to the length of the organism. So if the organism is like this, it will be perpendicular to the length of the organism. Okay, so that is known as your transverse axis. Okay, this is your transverse axis, and this is your longitudinal axis. Okay, so in transverse axis, the plane of division runs in transverse binary fission. The plane of division runs along the transverse axis of the individual. Examples are paramecium and planaria. Okay, Narek, I can see your messages, do not worry. Okay, Shiv Prakash, yes, planaria is an example of regeneration also, right? Unicellular organisms can show multiple modes of reproduction. Okay, so do not worry about that. Pritish, yes, mitochondria also divides by binary fission. Okay, okay. Now that was your binary fission. Okay, next is your multiple fission. What is your multiple fission? Prakriti, RBCs do not show fission here. RBCs originate from your bone marrow. Okay, they originate from your proerythrocytes. Okay, so do not think of that as an example of fission. Okay, now what is multiple fission? In multiple fission, parent body divides into many smaller daughter individual cells, right? Binary fission means what? 2. Binary means 2. Okay, in multiple means more than 2. Okay, there are lot of progenies formed. Okay, so we will be studying about 2 types of multiple fission or examples of 2 multiple fissions. Multiple fission in your amoeba and multiple fission in your plasmodium. Okay, so let's look at your first example, that is multiple fission in amoeba. As I said that unicellular organisms are capable of multiple modes of reproduction. So amoeba can undergo binary fission, to be more specific, simple binary fission or irregular binary fission, right? And it can undergo multiple fission also. It can undergo multiple fission also. So what happens is, under unfavorable condition, there is formation of a cyst wall around the amoeba. There is formation of a cyst wall around the amoeba, and this process is known as incestation. This process is known as incestation. What is incestation? Incestation is the process of forming of a cyst around an amoeba during unfavorable conditions. So let's say amoeba is in an environment where it does not have sufficient food, or it is an unfavorable temperature. So there will be formation of a cyst to protect the amoeba from unfavorable condition. Okay, and then what will happen is, after that there will be formation of daughter nuclei. The nucleus will undergo rapid division and there will be daughter nuclei, and then the nuclei will get wrapped the membrane, and they will be known as pseudopodiospores. And they will be known as what? Pseudopodiospores. And once the unfavorable conditions are removed, then the cyst will break, the spores will be released, and you will see formation of young amoeba. Okay? So what is multiple fission? So in multiple fission, you see, okay, Bhumika, I'll explain incestation again, do not worry. Sahana, I'll explain again, do not worry. Okay, what is the difference between binary and multiple, Ankita? Beta, in binary fission, only 2 daughter cells are produced. In multiple fission, more than 2 daughter cells are produced. Okay? So what are the steps in multiple fission in amoeba? The first step is formation of a 3-layered cyst. Okay, which is known as incestation. Okay, this takes place during unfavorable condition. So when does incestation take place? Incestation takes place during unfavorable conditions. Okay, once a cyst has been formed, then the nucleus divides rapidly. That is the second step. That is the second step, that is rapid division of the nucleus. Then the nucleus gets surrounded by a protective membrane, and that structure is known as your pseudopodiospores. That condition is known as your pseudopodiospores. And once the unfavorable conditions are over, then the cyst will break, the pseudopodiospores will be released outside, and those spores will develop into young amoeba. That is how the process of multiple fission takes place in amoeba. Pritish says, so Pritish asked the question, is this indirectly gamete formation? The problem with gamete formation in asexual reproductions, the definition becomes very dicey, right? In sexual reproduction, it is very clear cut that gametes are those cells which fuse with their opposite counterpart and give rise to a zygote. But in your asexual reproduction, sometimes gametes and spores can be used interchangeably. So if you're using it very loosely, then maybe you can say that, but since your textbook does not mention it, I would refrain from using it. Okay, so that is your multiple fission in amoeba. Okay, now there is multiple fission in Plasmodium also. What is Plasmodium most famous for? Where do we hear Plasmodium a lot? Or what is the function? I shouldn't say function, but what is Plasmodium responsible for? So Plasmodium is responsible for your malaria, right? Plasmodium is responsible for malaria. Okay, so in Plasmodium also you see multiple fission. The process remains the same, that is, there is formation of cyst, then multiple daughter nuclei are produced, many daughter cells are produced, okay, and then the daughter cells are released. Okay, The interesting thing about this Plasmodium is that the multiple fission takes place in human body also, as well as the body of the mosquito. So the multiple fission in Plasmodium takes place in both humans as well as your mosquito. Okay, the full form of Plasmodium is Plasmodium vivax, as Narek and Tarun have correctly pointed it out, right? So we will be studying about the life cycle of Plasmodium vivax in your health and diseases chapter. Okay, so do not worry about that. Just for the moment, remember that the process of multiple fission in Plasmodium is similar to your amoeba. That is, there is formation of a cyst, then the nuclei gets divided and gets surrounded by a cell membrane. Okay, there are multiple daughter cells, and then the cyst breaks and those cells are released. The important thing that you have to remember is that multiple fission in Plasmodium takes place in both humans as well as your mosquito. There's a different name for those cells that are released after multiple fission in mosquitoes, and there is different name for the cells that are released in humans after multiple fission. What are those names? We'll study in a later chapter. Okay, now let's move to the last type of binary fission that we have, and that is your plasmotomy. This is something that you guys might not be aware of, so thoda sa dhyan dena. So what is plasmotomy? Okay, so first thing is plasmotomy takes place in multinucleate parent. It takes place in multinucleate parent. What is the meaning of multinucleate parent? Multinucleate parent means an organism that has more than one nucleus. That has more than one nucleus. Okay, so for example, if you look at this particular diagram, okay, so this is an example. This is a diagram of Opalina. So it consists of many nucleus. So what happens is this parent divides into many multinuclear daughter individuals without division of nuclei. What is this statement trying to say? What is the statement trying to say? For example, let's say you have a parent which has, let's say, 100 nuclei, which let's say has 100 nuclei, which has 100 nuclei. And let's say, so what will happen is that it will undergo fission. It will undergo fission, right? It will undergo fission, and let's say it produces, okay, it produces 4 cells of 25 nuclei each. It produces cells of 25 nuclei each. Okay, when it will undergo division, there will be no nuclei multiplication. Okay, the 100 will divide into 4 equal cells, and then what will happen is that there will be nuclear division in these cells, right? That is what the second point says. Nuclear division occurs later on to maintain normal number of nuclei. Then these daughter cells will show nuclear division, so that you again end up with 100 nuclei. So that you again end up with 100 nuclei. So that you again end up with 100 nuclei. Okay, I'll repeat the entire thing again. So it says that it is a division of multinucleate parent. That is, it will contain more than one nucleus. Usually the nucleus are in 10s or 30s or 40s range. Okay, into many multinuclear daughter without division of nuclei. That is very important. That if it is going to produce 4 daughter cells, 100 ka 400 nahi hoga, so that you have 4 daughter cells of 100. It will divide those 100 into equal numbers, and then what will happen is that in the daughter cells, nuclear division will occur later to maintain normal number of nuclei. What are the examples? Examples are Opalina and Pelomyxa, which is also known as giant amoeba, So is plasmotomy clear to everybody? Just give me a yes. Is plasmotomy clear to everybody? Just give me a yes. Arshit, in asexual reproduction, there is always mitosis. Okay, is plasmotomy clear to everybody? Okay, awesome. Okay, so that is very nice to see. Okay, so we will stop today's class here. Okay, I'll stop the today's class at your fission. Okay, tomorrow we will continue with, that is on Thursday, we will continue with your budding, fragmentation, regeneration, and if time permits, maybe sporulation also. Okay, I hope you like today's class. Okay. No, Vijay Lakshmi, that was just an example. You will not always get 4 daughter cells. Yeah, it could be any number of daughter cells. That was just an example. Okay. Okay. So I hope you like today's class. Okay. If there are any doubts, you can stay back after the class. I'm willing to help you guys with your questions. Okay. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Meghna, the nuclear division is mitotic in nature. Okay. The nuclear division will take place in the daughter cell. It will not take place in your parent cell. Okay. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay. Vijay Lakshmi, please go to the website ncrt.nic.in. Okay. Abhishek, thank you very much for the kind words here. Okay. Thank you, Preksha. Dhanush, it can produce any number of daughter cells here. Okay. Depending on what cell we are talking about, it can produce any number of daughter cells. Okay. So Bhumika, you want me to explain incestation again? Beta, incestation is nothing but formation of a cyst. What is cyst? Cyst is a protective layer which protects the cell, in unfavorable condition, Okay. Okay. Ankita, you want the scientific name of bowhead whale? Okay, just give me a minute. You want the scientific name of bowhead whale, right? Even I am not aware of the scientific name of bowhead whale, so I'll just look it up. So the scientific name of the bowhead whale is Balena mysticutus. Okay, so if you really want it, that is the name. Okay, thank you very much, Pratibha, for the kind words. Okay, thank you, Nirja. So I'll see you guys on Thursday. I think that's when the next class is. Okay. Bhumika, which website do you want to know? Please let me know. I'll tell you what website you are talking about. Okay. Thank you very much, Sushma. Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you very much, Tamanna. NCRT website. Bhumika, the NCRT website is ncrt.nic.in, or you can just Google NCRT Class 12 Biology textbook. You'll get it here. Okay. Okay. Abhishek, what forms in human fetus first? What are you asking? Like, what are you asking there? Yeah, I am not understanding your question. Pratibha, if you want a reference textbook, I usually refrain from getting reference textbook for NEET because in theory I will be covering a lot of stuff from outside the textbook also, right? For MCQs, you should have textbooks. Okay, for MCQs, you should have textbook. So for that, you can get your Cengage, you can get your Cengage objective NEET is good. Then there are MTG books also. Plus, I think all of you might have Avanti module also, right? You can use that also. There are like 200 plus questions in every chapter, so you can use that also, right? Okay. Thank you very much, Sampada. So I think who was that? First organ formed in fetus. But I think if I remember correctly, the first organ formed in fetus is heart. Okay, heart is the first organ that forms, right? That is when you can tell whether there's a baby or not. You can listen to the heartbeat. Okay, Sana, NCRT on your fingertips is also a good one. Okay, that is also a good one. But I usually recommend for objective, I recommend Cengage, and I recommend a couple of MTG books. Plus Avanti module is there, so you can use that also. Okay. Okay. Any other doubts? Abhishek, if you want to ask any doubts, take my number from the group and text me from there. Yeah. Scientific name of fruit fly, Sampada. Scientific name of fruit fly is Drosophila melanogaster. Scientific name of fruit fly is Drosophila melanogaster. Okay. Okay. So I'll end the class then. Thank you very much for your patience here. It was really nice teaching you guys. Okay. So I'll end the class. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Please take care, guys. Bye-bye.